All right, today is 18th of August 2020, and this is a very special extra show of the Touchdown Steelers podcast. My name, as always, is Erik Forstrom, and today, for the first time in the history of the entire show, I am not joined by my reliable co-host, Tuukka Heiskanen, because he wasn't able to fit his schedule this time around. But instead, I am joined by, well, not anymore the recent acquisition of the Kuopio Steelers, because the recent news of Max Zimmerman replacing Jaakko Paananen is the most recent, but the guy right before that, Mr. AJ Wentland, coming to join the Steelers and already played one heck of a game against the Wolverines. Welcome to the show, Mr. Wentland.
Thank you for having me, Erik. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Oh, the pleasure is definitely all mine. So let's talk first a bit about what we just witnessed a couple of days ago. Your first game with the Steelers against the Helsinki Wolverines, a huge blowout, 70-6, and you got the MVP trophy of the entire shindig. Just in your own words, give us. We recapped the whole thing yesterday with Tuukka, but just in how did you feel about playing with the Steelers, about the atmosphere in the game, and how was it to play with the team itself, and your overall impressions of your first experience as a Steeler?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, it feels great to just play football. You know, it was amazing to be back out there and running around, and it's really great being on an amazing team. I think we have a really special group of guys here, and the game day atmosphere in Kuopio was second to none. It was really, really cool to see all the fans come out and show us a lot of support, make a lot of noise. And yeah, like you said, it just everything kind of went exactly the way it was supposed to go. Early on, we gave one score up defensively, one mistake, but then other than that, we were pretty crisp on the defensive side of the ball. And on the offensive side of the ball, they were basically hitting on all cylinders, basically playing a perfect game on both sides of the ball, almost, not perfect, but very close to too perfect. And it was just really cool to see the guys playing hard, play together, and we brought a lot of energy. And it seems like the group of guys that we have here, we're really feeding off of each other. And yeah, like I said, the atmosphere in Kuopio, it was great. So again, it just feels great to be back, first and foremost. And second of all, I'm really thankful and happy to be on a great team. And yeah, like I said, I think we really have a special group this year. I've been on a lot of teams throughout my entire life, through youth football, high school football, college football. Played a little bit in Europe and Germany, and I can definitely say that this is a special group. So I think that we have big things coming in the near future.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully this is the year when we manage to go all the way. As you probably very well know, we have some rather painful endings to the last two seasons. So maybe this one, I am not going to jinx it, but I'm just being hopeful that perhaps this one is a little bit different. But let's, every time I interview our imports, I always want to start at the beginning, because the history with Finnish football players is always very, very different to the guys coming from the States. Now, the hype of AJ Wentland was rather big when the news first hit. So let's start with how did that hype get started? So back when you were still a wee one, how did you get involved with the sport? Was it like the traditional story that your dad made you go to practice or something, or how did you get started?
Well, my dad did play when he was younger, but it wasn't. He never forced me to play, and that was awesome. He supported me in whatever I wanted to do, which was great. I never was pushed into anything, and I think that that's a reason why I still love the game today. I never got burnt out on it. It was something that I chose to love, and something that I chose to pursue. I've always played sports. I've always been really active. I played football, baseball, and basketball growing up, and I also wrestled as well. So I actually played four sports throughout my childhood, and I think that that's really important for anyone, is just staying active and maybe not focusing completely on one sport, especially as a child. As a kid, you should be able to explore your options and really find your niche. And but yeah, I've always played football since I started when I was 6 with flag football. But then once I got a little bit older, at 8 years old is when I started with tackle football. And that's when I first started to learn how to play football and the rules and everything that goes into it and all the hard work that goes into it. But obviously when you're a little bit younger, it's a little bit more for fun. It's a little bit slower. And then, played through my childhood. And then once I got into high school, I played for my high school all 4 years.
So is the high school the part when it kind of gets more serious?
Yeah, definitely. Once you get to high school, that's when you hear about those typical Friday Night Lights stories. It's like a dream for a lot of kids to play for their high school, and it's really cool because in the U.S. you take a lot of pride and you have a lot of school spirit for playing for your school, and you play your rival high schools, and it's a big thing. So yeah, as a freshman, I played up on the JV squad, and then after my freshman year, I've always kind of excelled a little bit with the sport, just because I think starting at a young age and learning those rules at a young age really helped me excel. And having my dad and my older brother help teach me to play from a young age really helped me. And so as a sophomore, I started on the varsity and had a good season my sophomore year, good season my junior year, and then going into my senior year, started to get into contact with some universities to play college football.
So let me stop you there for a bit. I forgot to ask, where are you based originally in the States? Where are you from?
Oh, I should have mentioned. So I'm from Rockford, Illinois, which is about an hour west of Chicago.
Right.
And so Rockford, Illinois, it's northern Illinois.
How big of a city?
Like I said, it's probably 80 miles. I don't know in kilometers, but probably 80 miles west from Chicago. The city is about 200,000 people, and my high school was called Harlem High School, which is just north of Rockford.
So you played in Harlem your entire high school time.
Yeah.
So which level team was the Rockford team, and what kind of accolades did you manage to get during your high school years?
Well, we were in high school, or in Illinois high school football, there's 8 different divisions, and 8A is the biggest. And so we played in 7A, which is the second highest level. My high school had, I believe, 2,500 kids, so 2,500 students, which put us right at that 7A level. Pretty good level in the state of Illinois. And every year we did really well. We were just about in second place in our conference, I think, every single year, just missing that first place spot, but still good enough to make the playoffs. And I think every year that I was there, we made it to the second round in the playoffs. So we never quite pushed past that level to make it to the state championship or anything like that, but it was always still a really good experience. And we were just right there, good but not great. And we just had to push a little bit further. Personally, I had pretty good years. My junior year, I was an all-conference linebacker. In my senior year, I was also an all-conference linebacker. In my senior year, I also played tight end, and I did pretty well there. So I played both ways my senior year.
Yeah, I was about to ask if you played other positions than just the linebacker. But yeah, I could definitely peg you for a tight end as well. You have the frame for it.
Yeah, and I did pretty well there. I had I believe it was 7 touchdowns. So I did pretty well, but my main focus was always defense. So if I needed a rest at any time, I would take a rest on offense. But that's always so cool to play college football or high school football, excuse me. Just playing for your high school, playing with all the guys you grew up with, and playing under those lights on Friday nights.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
So it's pretty much almost a full-time job being a student and a football player in high school. You mentioned that you played other sports too. Did you still play other sports while you were still like going full-on high school footballer?
Yeah. At the beginning of my high school, I still played other sports, but the later I got into my high school career, the more I started to focus on just football. So my junior and senior year, I just focused on football. But before that, I played baseball as well. And baseball was another.
Yeah. So did you end up with football because that was where you were best at, or what you wanted the most, or both?
I think it was a little bit of both. I definitely have always kind of excelled in football. Just playing linebacker ever since I was in high school, I've always had a nose for the football, and my coaches and all my peers all recognize that I kind of excelled on the field. And baseball was more for fun for me, and it was really, really fun, but it wasn't as much of a serious hobby for me as football was. And
sure.
I knew that football was going to be my ticket to get out of Rockford, basically. And especially once I got later in my high school career, I had a lot of colleges reaching out to me to play college football. And eventually I took the scholarship to a Division II university called McKendree University, which is near St. Louis. And
So on the other side of the country, right?
no, so St. Louis is in Missouri, a neighboring state from Illinois.
Oh, I think I got it mixed up with Seattle or something. Maybe then, but
Yeah,
okay.
maybe.
Yeah, okay, sure.
No, but St. Louis is only, it's 4.5 hours south from Rockford. So
Right.
it was close enough to home to where I could still visit, but also far enough away to where, I could feel like I kind of got away from home and kind of create my own story there. And I had some offers to walk on at like a D1 AA school. But financially, my family couldn't afford anything like that. So
Right.
I had to go with where my school was paid for. So I went with McKendree University, Division II, and it ended up being the best decision I could have ever made. I ended up playing basically right away as a freshman and got on the field, got some playing time. And then as a sophomore, I broke school records with tackling records and defensive records. And then every year after that, I broke my own record.
So
And,
remind me again, what was the division for the school you ended up in?
The conference or the division?
Here I'm showing again that I don't understand the whole college football system as well as I perhaps should, but let's say both the division and conference. Then what was the level?
So McKendree University is Division II, and then we play in the GLVC conference.
Right.
So
and then for everyone else, definitely not referring to myself at all. Is that good?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I think everyone wants to play at the Division I level. That's everyone's dream, and I think that coming out of high school, I definitely thought that I should have been a Division I player. And I think that I could have definitely walked on and earned a scholarship at a Division I school. But at the time coming out of high school, I wasn't ready for a Division I scholarship. A lot of times they will only offer those guys if you're already, a huge guy, big, fast, strong. And coming out of high school, I was only, 200 pounds, 205 pounds. So like 90 kilos. I was a little bit skinnier. I was a little bit of a late bloomer, I guess. Coming out of high school, I was a little bit skinnier. I was still fairly tall, but those Division I schools want those guys ready to go already. So, but that's also why I really excelled once I got to college, because once I got to school, I was able to put on a lot of weight. I bought into the strength conditioning program. I bought into all my coaches, Coach Babcock and Coach Batasso, and they really molded me into a great player. I was a student of the game there, and I really excelled at the Division II level. I was kind of a bigger fish in a smaller pond, and I was a 2-time All-American there, and I became the GLVC Defensive Player of the Year in 2016.
For the listeners, if you are an All-American, what does that actually mean?
So basically, as an All-American, there's voting by the coaches. There's different organizations that do it, but the biggest one is the one that's the coaches poll. So basically, coaches throughout the entire country will vote for players in their conference, and then from there, they'll take those players from the individual conferences, and then there's a coaches panel, and I believe it's like 30 coaches, and they have to vote on those individual players, and if you get enough votes, then you'll be eligible for being an All-American.
All right,
and
cool.
I was fairly proud to be named an All-American. I remember getting to college and seeing those guys' names on the billboard. They're very proud of the All-Americans that have been there in the past.
No doubt.
And I remember just wanting to have my name on that board, and it was kind of cool to eventually achieve that goal, and achieve it twice, and it was really cool. And after that, I ended up getting a little bit of NFL exposure. I had a pro day, things like that, up at Northwestern.
Hold on, before we go to NFL, how did McKendree fare as a team during your years?
Oh, really good, really good. My freshman year, we weren't so good. I think we were about 500 or a little less. We went 5-6 my freshman year.
Right.
And then as my class came in and kind of got older, we started to establish a better culture, I say, a winning culture. We really bought into what Coach Babcock was teaching us. And Coach Babcock was also a first-year coach my freshman year. So he kind of changed the culture a little bit coming into McKendree. And like I said, my freshman year was a little bit rough, starting off at 5-6. And then every year we got better. My sophomore year, we ended up going 6-5. So we kind of flipped the table. And then my junior year, we hit the ground running. We were 9-2. And then my senior year, we were also 9-2. So both years, we were just right there. I can compare it to what I said in high school. We were good, but not great. You know what I mean? We just weren't at that elite level. We got second place behind University of Indianapolis both years, my junior and senior year. But like I said, those people that I met in college and the coaches that I had are some experiences that I'll never forget. And
you mentioned Coach Babcock a couple of times already. Tell me a little bit about what kind of a man and coach that man was.
He's just a guy that's really there to teach you to be a good person, not only a good football player, but he wants you to be a good man, a good friend, a good husband, a good father someday. So basically what he would teach us every day, we'd have our 2-a-day practices during camp, but then at night we would meet and just talk about different subjects, some subjects that aren't so easy to talk about, but some things that are easy to talk about. And he would always talk to us about being good people, not only a good football player. And he believed that those things, being a good person off the field will also help you be a good player on the field.
So a life coach in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I really enjoyed working with Coach Babcock, and Coach Vitasso was my defensive coordinator, and he just taught me how to be a great player. He just taught me how to give effort. He was always there and always taught us to play hard, 4 to 6 seconds. And we had one of the best defenses in Division II my junior and senior year, which was, I was also very proud of that,
So what's the most important thing about being a great player? Like if you have to give one advice to a young aspiring players, what's the first thing?
Well, I'd say, it takes a lot of hard work. It's something that you got to want. If you want to be great, then it's a choice. Talent is a gift, but greatness is a choice, and that's something that I always say, because you can be as talented as anyone in the world, but you won't be able to do much with that talent if you don't choose to work hard and use that talent in a good way. And also just helping the people out around you. If you have a lot of knowledge and can give that to somebody else, I think that you should do that. And that's only going to make the team better, and that's only going to make the guys around you better, and it's going to only make yourself better. So,
very well said. You mentioned the NFL Pro Day. So what kind of NFL experience did you manage to have?
So the first time I ever even realized that I would have had an opportunity to play at that level was after my junior year. After becoming an All-American my junior year, I had 3 or 4 teams come to my small school, McKendree, and I had to do a workout in front of them. And it was just, I remember we were in the middle of our
which teams?
The Minnesota Vikings, the Chicago Bears, and the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
And those were the 3 teams that came my junior year. And it was just 3 scouts basically, and they all were for their individual team. And I just had to do the 40, the bench press. They weighed me, measured me, things like that. But I can just remember I had been going to my strength conditioning process throughout the winter. The winter workouts, it's really tough. Every day 5 a.m. you're out in the blistering cold running with your teammates, and it's tough, but that's what makes you guys close. And
as a Finnish guy, I'm gonna interrupt you and ask, what's blistering cold for you?
I mean, maybe not as bad as the Finnish winter,
okay.
but
sure.
In the Midwest, it also gets pretty cold. I think it gets in Celsius below 0, 1 or 2,
sure.
Below 1 or 2. So not too bad. I'm sure it gets much worse here, but it gets pretty cold as well, and it's never fun waking up at 5 a.m.
Yeah. Sure.
Sorry, do go on. But But yeah, I just remember my coaches calling me in. They said, "Hey, you got a month to get ready for the 40, and you got to run that for these NFL teams." And I just was like, "Wow, like I can't believe it." I'd never thought that after taking a scholarship to a smaller school,
Yeah.
But that's what I always tell guys is, like I said earlier, it's everyone's dream to go to a Division I school. But if you can take the opportunity and play at a Division II, the NFL teams will find you if you have that level of talent and are good enough to play. They'll find you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How much of a warning did you have to prepare yourself for
the
those
first
tests?
time, like I said, only a month, and I really didn't do anything other than continue working out with my team.
Yeah.
And I did okay. I did just fine. The guys, the scouts afterward told me, "Hey, you did well. Now just focus. All you can do now is be prepared to have a good season this next year, your senior year, so you can have good tape to show to the scouts." So I kind of knew I was on people's radar going into my senior year, which was really cool. It just made me work that much harder, so I went out, had another good year, and I couldn't have done it without the other 10 guys on the field. Both every year being at McKendree. Like I said, we had a great defense, and it wasn't just, it was all of us out there. We had a great D line. We had really good defensive backs, really tall corners. We had a lot of speed on the field, and kind of like playing here last Saturday. We fed off of each other. We gave each other a lot of energy, so we were able to, even though we were tired, we still ran to the ball every play, and that was something that we prided ourselves on as a defense. And so I had another good solid season my senior year, and then I was luckily invited to the pro day at Northwestern, which is a Division I school. And because McKendree doesn't have a pro day because it's such a smaller, it's a smaller venue. So it was March of 2017, and I had to drive up to Northwestern University and had my pro day. There was about 45 athletes there from all over because they have their Northwestern football players, which there's probably about 20, 25 of those guys. And then they also bring in about 20 small school guys. So I was a small school guy that was invited to Northwestern's pro day. And at Northwestern's pro day, all 32 NFL teams were there, as well as I think it's 8 CFL teams. So there was a lot of scouts there. It was a pretty big event, and it was just a really cool experience. I went in and they did all the measurements, ran the 40, bench press, all that stuff, did all the combine stuff. It was really cool to have that experience.
Yeah, I bet.
And afterward, my agent got in contact with me, and he said that that they wanted me to come, that he said that he could get me into the local camp with the Chicago Bears. Went there and again did a combine process and things like that, and unfortunately it just didn't work out. I think that my 40 time wasn't exactly what they wanted. At that time I was a little bit bigger. I was like 110, so I was like 240. Okay. Now I'm about I'm a little bit lighter now, and I think that I'm faster. But those are the things that you learn in those times. I was only 22 back then when I had my pro day, and I think that if I knew what I know now, I definitely would have tried to go in a little lighter and not be so big, because I was definitely one of the biggest linebackers at the pro day. Now you see guys in the NFL, they're a little bit lighter and faster.
Yeah,
and that's
not the Ray Lewis types.
Yeah, exactly. And Ray Lewis is just a freak. He's huge and fast.
Oh, yeah.
And Brian Urlacher, he's huge and fast. But a lot of the guys that were at the pro day, the other linebackers, were only 6'1", 220, 100 kilos. So they weren't huge guys. I was much bigger than them. And
your loss in the pro day is Europe's gain in this event, at least. So after that, did you still continue playing somewhere in the States, or did you end up straight in Europe?
Yeah, so basically after that, 2017 was kind of a weird year for me. I didn't know if I was going to play anymore at that point. In the U.S., there's not really any secondary league after the NFL. Then there's the CFL, obviously, which my agent had me do some CFL workouts again. Didn't quite work out. And at that point, I just started working a job. I was living in St. Louis, still near McKendree. And I just started working a job, but I knew I wanted to continue to play. So I knew some of my friends. I actually have a friend from McKendree who played in the Maple League. His name's Isaac Fisher. He played for Vasa for 2 seasons.
Yeah, I remember.
So he was he was our quarterback at McKendree when I was there. So I knew that there was football in Europe, so I started to kind of just look through some things in 2017. And ironically, some coaches started to reach out to me on Facebook. And, through contact with them, I said, hey, how should I go about the recruiting process? And they told me I should make like a Euro players page. I did. And from there, I started getting a lot of messages from coaches on Euro players, coaches on Facebook, throughout Europe, which was really, really cool. It made me really excited because throughout that entire time, I continued to work out. I continued to run because being a college football player, that's all I knew was the grind. I call it the grind, just running and lifting and just staying ready to play. And then I had a lot of guys reach out to me from Germany, and I saw that it was a pretty competitive league, and I was interested. So I looked more into that, and then I signed with the Dresden Monarchs and Olds Dauber, and ended up flying over there in March of 2018, and had a good season there in 2018. They ended up signing me back to come for 2019. Had another good year. And then as a team, we both years we made it to the semifinal, 2018 and 2019.
Right.
And I believe that we could push for the German Bowl in 2020, and I signed. And then with the crazy time that everybody's involved in, the league was canceled. But I think everything kind of happens for a reason, and with that happening, Coach Pekka and I had been in contact basically throughout this entire summer of 2020, and he's been an awesome guy, just keeping it real with me throughout the entire process. And he told me, if I want to, we can make this happen. And as soon as the league closed down in Germany, I called Pekka and we made it happen. So here I am.
Okay,
and,
so Pekka was contacting you already before the like it didn't just happen that when the league got closed, then that you got some offers. Then Pekka already had his hooks in, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Coach Peck and I had been talking probably since the end of May.
Right.
Ever since, the GFL basically, the first thing they did was push everything back. And Coach Peck and I, from the beginning had just kind of been just chatting a little bit. I saw in some of my messages that he had reached out to me for the 2020 season. And I just messaged him and I said, hey, I've heard that the Finnish league may go ahead and play. And I'm not sure how the German league is looking, and he said, well, hey, we want you here. So he's like, if you want to come now, we can make that happen, and I definitely wanted to. And I told him that, and that's why I love the guy. He's a great coach. And it was so cool that I could just be honest with him. And I was like, hey, I really want to come, but I want to do the right thing. I don't want to leave Dresden on bad terms.
Of course.
They've done a lot for me the last 2 seasons. So luckily it's all kind of worked out. And like I said, I have a really good feeling about this season. And ever since I got here, the team has brought me in with open arms, and everyone's been so nice and positive. And I just feel like I've been able to add a little bit of energy to the team and more positive vibes. And we just have a good mix of guys, I think.
We'll get back to the Steelers in a minute. I want to ask you, just go a little bit back and ask you about the German football culture. Like, how do you feel? In Finland, American football is it's still a fringe sport in many ways, in my opinion. How does it feel in Germany? Is it bigger there? How big? Trying to find the right words. How big are the crowds during the German games, for example?
It depends on where you play, but in Dresden we have a really good fan base, and we average anywhere from 3,000, 4,000, and we played when we play in our big stadium, we play in front of about 8,000. So it just depends on where you play, because we say if you go to, let me think, like Potsdam, they have a smaller fan base. Like they'll have about 1,000 people at their game.
Yeah.
Or if you go to Berlin, they also have a smaller fan base. They'll have about 1,000. But when you play teams like New Yorker or Schwäbisch Hall, they also have about like 4,000 to 5,000 people in the stands. And Dresden, exactly about 4 and up to 8,000. So it's a little bit bigger, but it's also still a growing sport. Everywhere in Europe, it's not the top sport, obviously. Soccer or foosball is what they call it in Germany.
Yeah, the
And
barrier of entry is still way bigger in American football than in soccer, for example. And of course, like the soccer and ice hockey, for example, are very, very much ingrained in many countries. So American football is still coming from behind, but we're all doing our best to.
Yeah, but I think that it's really
up.
cool being being an American. I've seen it grow. I've seen it grow since I've came here in 2018. You know, I think it's gotten bigger every year that I've played in Europe, and it's just really cool to see how much popularity it's gaining throughout the entire world as well. You know, there's leagues everywhere from Japan, China. There's leagues in every country in Europe, and it's just really cool to see. You know, and I love to see that the European players, how much that they love the game and how much they put into it and how much they want to learn. And, you know, it motivates guys like myself, you know, to keep pushing.
Sure. So in Dresden, before we started recording, you mentioned that that they had this good announcer who like brought up the entire crowd. And from that, I'm coming to like what specifically was the fan base in Dresden like? Did you feel like the whole crowd was with you with every single play? And
definitely. Well, just like yourself, you know, we had an amazing announcer in Dresden. His name's Alex. I forget his last name. I wish I could remember his last name, but Alex was our announcer, and yeah, he's awesome. And just like yourself, you know,
thank you,
sir. Bringing a lot of energy to the games, and yeah, the fans are right there with the players because obviously sometimes maybe some of the fans may not know exactly what's going on in the game just because, like we had said, football isn't the biggest sport in Europe, but people are still interested and they want to learn and they want to come support their hometown team. So it's so big having the announcer there to, you know, cue the crowd when to get excited and when to make noise, you know, and it was just like that in Dresden, you know, so yeah, there was a lot of energy with the crowd. They made a lot of noise when the defense was on the field, made things hard for the opposing offense. And it was hard for teams to beat us when we were playing at home, you know, and it's the same here in Kuopio. It makes a huge difference when that crowd is bringing a lot of energy, and the players feed off of it as well. You know, myself, for example, I love seeing the fans stand up and go crazy after a big play. And whether I made it or not, you know, if any of my teammates make a big play, I like to celebrate with my team, but I also like to, you know, put on a show for the fans. You know, that's also part of it.
Yes,
you know, it's a little bit
we kind of noticed that you like to put on a show.
It's a lot of fun. You know, it makes it fun. I like to have a good time out there. It's a game and it should be fun, you know, so and it's fun to have fun with the crowd, you know, because we're all in it together, I feel like. So yeah, and with an announcer who kind of helps the crowd out to understand when it's time to get excited, it makes it that much better. So thank you. And I have to give a shout out to Alex as well. I'd like to thank him as well, but he knows that he's my guy. So
excellent. Yeah, I definitely can sync with you there. Like that's my whole shtick, that I bring every single emotion that I have in my body to the whole announcing thing. Like when things are going well, I get all nuts, and when things are going badly, well, then sometimes I may get frustrated, and I have to fight not to show it. But everyone always knows that the it's always genuine.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
Yeah, the reason why I originally brought up the Dresden thing, like, was it like 4,000 or 5,000 the crowd over there?
Yeah, I'd say about average.
Because I'm just this is starting to enter into the realm of like physics, because like in our last game, the official attendance was a little bit under 600, so that's only a fraction of what like the Dresden brings in. But perhaps like does it matter? Like in here, all the people are packed up, I bet, in a way more smaller space. As I bet the stadium is bigger in Dresden. So like just about the crowd itself, how does the smaller crowd compare, smaller but a loud crowd, compared to the one that you had in Dresden, for example?
Yeah, I mean, in both circumstances, it's a lot of fun. You know, either way, we're still on the field and playing. I think that we'd still have the same energy, even if we're out there with nobody. but it makes it more fun when you have the crowd there. And
Definitely.
in both places, it's awesome because in Dresden too, they have like the little, like there's two sides where you can sit, and they are spread out, but they have like the part where they want to go crazy,
Yeah.
like the extreme fans, and that's where like
Yeah.
they really go wild in there, and they have all their horns and stuff. So yeah, I mean, in both places, it's awesome. Like it's a great environment in both spots. It's a little bit different, but I enjoy being in both atmospheres. I mean,
Yeah,
I
sure.
just love playing for wherever I'm at. I love playing for the home crowd. It's fun to put on a show, and it's fun to bring in more fans, and hopefully we have even more at the next home game. So
Yeah, that's going to be a big one because no matter what happens in the next one, or what happens in the next round, is completely irrelevant of the fact that the one who wins against the one who wins the game between Steelers and Royals at Kuopio, that team is going to win the regular season altogether.
yeah,
So
exactly.
there's going to be a huge it's going to be a huge game. Last season we had it against the Roosters, but I think that game was completely meaningless as far as the standings went. Steelers had
Right.
already secured the top spot, and
Right.
Roosters played like with their second team basically, and we won that
Oh
game
wow.
too. And then we lost to them in the Maple Bowl. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I think. Okay, one more easy question. How's Finland treating you? How are you enjoying
Well,
the
so
country?
far I've been here now almost 2 weeks. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks, and yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, I have a really nice apartment. It's really close to downtown. I love that you can just walk everywhere. It's very peaceful here, and the people are really friendly everywhere I go. It's amazing, and the food's really good. It seems really fresh. Um, and yeah, I mean, everything's been great, honestly. Like I really can't think of anything that I could complain about at all. So
That's good to hear.
it's cool. It's cool seeing a new country. Everywhere in Europe is different and unique, and that's why I love Europe. But Finland in particular, like I said, it has beautiful landscapes. I love the lake. The peaceful city is very nice, and I love how convenient it is to just be able to walk or ride your bike anywhere in the city. And yeah, the team, from the coaching staff to my teammates, have all been super welcoming, and um, welcomed me with open arms, and have been super supportive through the process. And like I said, I just think that we have a really special group this year, and I'm really excited for the next few games. I know it's a short season, but I think that it's an exciting one, and I think that the group of guys we have is um, it's special because, like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and definitely there is a special feeling being here. It's
Yeah,
even though I've only been here 2 weeks, I can tell, and that's something that should be said and be recognized, because I think, um, like I said, I've played on some other teams, and we've always been good, but not great. But I already feel like we're at another level. I think that we have a good special group. So hopefully we can continue to get better every single week, and continue to put things together, and continue to grow as a team, and keep bringing the energy, and just take one thing at a time, and see how all the cards lay out at the end of the day.
yeah. Here's hoping we end up with the big win at the end. But
Oh yeah.
I've saw you and enjoy yourself with a couple of Steelers players or imports, specifically like Lane Achiampong, who's been making these
Yeah.
really great vlogs, and
Oh yeah.
Semi Raji. You've been hanging out a lot with him too, right?
Oh yeah. 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 Like I said, we have a great group. Lane and I have actually played against each other in Germany, so it
Right.
was really interesting to kind of come together now and play with each other. And actually, I played against Cadell as well, and Semi, so I've played
Ah,
against all of those guys in Germany, which is kind of cool. Now that we're together, we've kind of all seen each other on opposing teams, and know what kind of energy we all kind of bring. So it's kind of interesting bringing those forces together, and just bringing a lot of energy to practice every day. And it's infectious. It makes everybody on the field run around more, give more energy, give more effort at practice, and then that translates onto the game on game day. And like I said, when we're out there, for sure, Cadell, myself, and Semi, we enjoy seeing each other make big plays, and we enjoy to celebrate together and celebrate with the crowd. And like I said, I think it's infectious to the whole defense, and all of the Finnish players are flying around, and it seems like everyone's having a good time. And it's fun being out there. It's fun playing with the guys who have already been here and kind of established, what Kuopio Steelers football is all about.
Yeah.
And then just adding our knowledge and adding what we can do and bring as a team to the team. So it's been really fun so far. And like I said, I'm hoping that we can continue to get better, because that's my goal. Is we can't stay consistent. We want to stay consistent on how we played last weekend, but I want to consistently keep progressing.
Yeah. So let's talk brass tacks a little bit. As far as playing on defense goes, do you like? How do I put this? Do you feel like you're more apt with like an aggressive defense, like blitzing a lot, or are you more of a cover 2 person? So what's your thing as far as being a linebacker goes?
I'd say I can do both. I think if we're gonna play aggressive, we have enough speed on the field to have each other's backs, because sometimes playing aggressively, that means you may miss a tackle here and there, but we also have a ton of other guys that are flying around, all 10 guys, so if I'm aggressively coming down and I miss it, I know that I have, Max Stefalsis or one of my D linemen coming to clear it up. I know we have 10 other guys running to the ball. So I think that we're all confident enough that we know that we can play aggressive because we have the other 10 guys on the field. And then obviously there's times to play conservative where, like on Saturday, we were up by a lot. We knew, say, hey, it's 3rd down. We know that we can let him get a few yards. We just have to tackle him before he gets the 1st down. So now let's play a little conservative and just kind of break our feet down and kind of swarm to the ball and create a net.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just situational. And I think that the biggest thing is communication. And that's something that we've definitely been doing pretty well on the field, is communicating with each other. As long as we're all on the same page, then we're going to be fine. And I don't think it matters who we play. I think that we'll be able to put a stop to anything that a team throws at us.
Yeah. Petri Peilinen is our defensive coordinator, and you now have experience from the college games in the States and the GFL. How do you feel like as far as tactics go and understanding how to build a good defense? How does the Steelers do in that regard compared to the, almost semi-pros pretty much?
Yeah. I think that everywhere you go is unique. Every coach you work with, you learn different things from. And I think that the best coaches are the ones that are willing to listen to their players and listen to advice. And that's something that Coach Petri does. He does well. As if Max Stefalsis has something that he wants to chip in for the week, he's open ears and all there, willing to listen to his suggestions. And if anyone on the defense has anything that they think, hey, I saw this on film and I feel like if we could add this, it may help. And he's always there listening and willing to hear us out, which is great. But at the end of the day, he's the coach and we're the players. So whatever he calls, we're 100% going to run it, no questions asked. And whatever he calls, I feel like Coach is confident in us that he knows that whatever he calls, we're going to run it to perfection, and we're going to play hard no matter what. So no matter what he calls, we're going to play with a lot of effort, play 4 to 6 seconds. And I think that makes it fun for him, that he doesn't have to, stress out or anything like that, that he can feel confident in calling whatever play he feels comfortable with and whatever he thinks will work. And we'll be able to put a stop to whatever the offense is running.
Yeah. Do you have any audibles to change the play on the line of scrimmage on the defensive side?
Yeah.
You don't have to go to specifics, of course, but I'm just curious.
But we have the ability to make some checks, and that makes it fun. And that's the big reason why I think it was Timmy who had a sack, and I got really excited because it was, like I said, I don't want to get into too much detail, but I gave him a check at the line, and then he came free. So
that was cool. Going to be my next question. That did you manage to get any of your own input in before the game got started?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I made a little bit of a check at the line of scrimmage, and Timmy came free and made a big play. I think it was Timmy. I'd have to double check on the film, but I think it was him. And he just slanted inside and made a big sack. And I think it was a third down play. It was really cool to see. And I was celebrating like I made the play, even
Yeah,
though, I didn't do anything. I just was really excited just because it worked when I said, hey, I gave him the call, which basically gave him the key to do something different. And like I said, I don't want to get into too much detail.
yeah, sure, sure,
And
sure.
but it worked, and that was really cool to see.
Yeah, so next you're playing against Seinäjoki, and I hope you're not feeling too cocky yet because you beat 70-6 the Helsinki Wolverines, and we're with the fans here. We're kind of nervous that we need you to win the rest of the games. Please, don't open up your jacket and go, yeah, we're gonna beat this thing. How are you preparing for Seinäjoki?
Well, Seinäjoki has a really good running back, and we definitely respect his game, and we respect what they can do as an offense. And like you said, we don't take any opponent lightly. I'm a huge component or huge component of saying you should respect every opponent that you play. And that's important. Because you gotta give your opponent a lot of respect so you can be prepared to play hard no matter what, and be ready for anything, because they practice too. And if you're not ready, you can get hit in the mouth early, and be down early, and that's never fun.
Yeah, I definitely think that that the defense we now have, we've been very good at stopping the run for the. Oh, looks like I just lost my focus. Well, it'll come back. We'll put the lights on.
Yeah, it should.
There we go. So as I was saying, our defense has been very good at stopping the run so far in the last 3 games, and I think that like Christian Powell has had some good games and some bad games, and I definitely feel that if he's going to have a bad game next Friday, I think, so that's going to be because of our defense rather than just him having a bad day. Because
exactly.
You did a really excellent job against the Wolverines stopping the run, and then even as Forcier he had a bad day and could get his passing game going. So
I think that
it will add it up.
As a defense, we want to pride ourselves on not giving anyone anything and making everything hard for any offense. If we play our game and if we do what we're supposed to do, it's going to be really hard for any offense. So Seinäjoki, they like to run the ball. They like to run with a fullback, and we want to load the box up, and we want to be ready to hold our gaps, do our job, and then just fly around to the ball. And then at the end of the day, we just need to tackle. We need to wrap up, drive our legs, and we got a lot of big guys up front that we think that we can handle it. But at the same time, we got to be ready for that. So we got to practice hard this week. And like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Christian. He's a big, strong running back, fast guy. And if you let him get in the open, he's got speed to break away. So we want to contain that. We want to be able to just continue running to the ball all day and just not really give him the opportunity to get that space. And we just got to wrap up, drive our legs, and play our game, hold our gaps, and if we can do that, then we can limit them. And if we stop the run, I think we'll win the game.
Right. I have 2 more questions, and first one is about the future. I'm not going to ask where you're going to play next year, but I am going to ask, what do you see yourself doing when your career as a footballer ends?
Oh, after I'm done playing, I'm definitely going to get into coaching. That's something that I want to do, is give back to what the game has given me. The game has given me a ton of opportunities, from being that undersized kid coming out of Harlem. I could have ended up staying in Rockford, and working construction, or who knows what. But thankfully, football came into my life at a young age, and it gave me the opportunity to get an education. It gave me the opportunity to play professionally overseas and see a bunch of countries in Europe. I don't know the exact number, but I've been able to see a lot of different cultures and experience a lot of different things through traveling. And that's just because of football. I don't think I would have ever gone to Europe if it wasn't for playing football. Yeah. And I've been able to meet so many amazing people during the process. And so I hope that I can coach and hopefully give some players that same opportunity that I had, whether they are able to make it to the NFL or if they're able to play college ball or whatever they choose to do as a player. But I think it'd be cool to give back and teach some of the players some of the things that I've learned and some of the things that I've learned from my coaches, so.
Yeah. Did you happen to give any tips to Jaakko Paananen as he just got the news that he's going to NFL Academy?
Yeah, I love Jaakko. He's a really cool guy. He's young and he's got a ton of potential, and I tell him that all the time.
Right.
And basically at practice we goof around with each other a lot. Like I said, I'm a high energy guy and we like to have fun, but he knows at the end of the day I've gotten serious with him. I told him, hey, you got a real shot to play college ball or anything. You have endless possibilities, and I'm going to continue to reiterate that with him because he's still going to be with us for a little while at practice and everything.
Yeah.
I just want him to be confident and know that he can play. He has the ability to do anything that he wants, especially being, he's only 18 and he's got a lot of size and speed, and the kid's got a lot of potential. And that was the first thing I asked him. I said, can't believe you're only 18. I said, you should go play college ball, and that's when he told me, hey, I think I'm going to take this opportunity. And I think it's a great opportunity for him. I'm happy for him, and I know everyone on the team is excited for him. So just today we were out on the field running through some stuff just as with I think about like 10, 15 guys, and Jaakko was out there just trying to perfect his craft, and a young guy like that, you don't really have to tell him much. He wants it. Like I said earlier, if you want to be great, that's a choice.
That's a choice. Yeah.
And he's out there working, so I think that he's going to be all right.
Excellent. So the last thing I have in my mind is that you've mentioned a couple of times that we play for those 4 or 6 seconds, but we also have some great memories of playing some particular 4 or 6 seconds. Like my favorites are probably when I scored my first touchdown as a Steeler back in the day. But share me one of your favorite 4 to 6 seconds memories that you'll never forget.
Oh wow, that's tough. That's a tough one.
Doesn't have to be the best. It's something that's one of your favorites, perhaps.
Believe it or not, the most of the memories that I have when I'm on the field are seeing my teammates do something amazing,
Right.
And one that I can remember in particular, I was a sophomore in college, and there was another guy that I played with named Lucky Barr. He was an amazing defensive end, and he was also an All-American, and he was the defensive player of the year before I had it. So he had it as a junior, and then I had it as a senior. So he was the conference defensive player of the year in 2015, and then I had it in 2016. But the year before that, in 2014, as a sophomore, it was a snowy game. We were playing in Quincy, Illinois, and we were winning 28-21. And it was the fourth quarter. The offense was driving down the field, just kept driving. We couldn't stop them, and they were about to tie the game up, or potentially go for 2 and win the game.
Yeah.
Right as time is expiring, and it was 3rd and long. Well, before that, it was 2nd and long, and Lucky had 3 sacks in a row. But basically, I can just vividly remember the snow coming down and making my pass drop, and just seeing Lucky make a sack, and then Lucky make another sack, and then Lucky make a 3rd sack to finish the game. And it was just incredible, and that's one that definitely stands out to me. But there's many more. If you gave me more time, I could just continue telling you a bunch of stories.
Sure.
But yeah, like I said, most of them, I've made a lot of good plays myself, but I think it's always cool telling the stories of seeing your friends out there and seeing the things that they do when you're on the field together,
I'm not going to let you go that easily, though. You have mentioned your friends now, but now I'm asking that please share something that you personally did that you remember very vividly.
Well, when in Dresden we play in the big stadium, and that's, like I mentioned, we have 7,000 or 8,000 in there, and I take a lot of pride on special teams too. I always think that that's a huge opportunity to make big plays. And I can remember playing Kiel in 2018, and both times we played Kiel, 2018 and 2019. I did the same thing. I lined up, and Well, it was third down. I lined up and I blitzed right through the A gap, made a sack, and I was really fired up. Got the crowd going, and then we lined up for the punt block team.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I was so fired up. I was like, I'm gonna go block this punt. I remember telling the other guys on the team that, and they just looked at me like I was crazy. And then they snapped the ball, and I just went right through the gap, and I blocked the punt. My buddy Will scooped it and scored it, and I ended up doing that same thing again in 2019. And it was kind of crazy that it happened like that. In 2018, I had a sack on third down, blocked the punt, and then 2019 sack on third down, and then blocked the punt against the same team.
That's
both
what I'm
times.
talking about.
Yeah, both times scored a touchdown. So it's sometimes you can't see that that the 6 points were on the board. It was something that I caused, but the other guy gets the touchdown, which is all good, and it's awesome to be able to cause some points for your team. And those are things that you'll remember that for a long time. Especially playing in front of the crowd and seeing the people stand up and just seeing how excited everyone gets when that happens. It's really cool.
I definitely get that. All right. Do you have any shout outs you want to send to people all around the world, perhaps?
Yeah, I guess so. I shout out to my team, the Kuopio Steelers, all the guys on defense. The dark side, they're all there. They have my back every play, and they know I have their back. And I got to show some love to the offense too. They got to score some points for us, but most importantly, the defense. I love you guys.
Excellent.
Coach Pekka, everybody, so.
That's great. Thank you very much for talking with me today. We've been at this for quite a while, actually. So if you, dear listener or viewer, managed to get this far, my hat's, well, it's not on right now, but my hat goes off to you.
That's off to you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for talking with me today, AJ Wentland. And as far as the show goes, touchdown Steelers, over and out.
Thank you.